Canal is all about power because you have the water that was used for hydraulic power for these were all factories that lined along here. The railroad tracks used to be on both sides. There was the Grand Trunk Railway and the CN, and that on both sides of the canal. So this was the main thoroughfare for moving goods east-west. And all along here, there are still factories that are left, but they're not in the use that they were at that time. They had actually built a head race up ahead, I'll show you where, which was like water that came from the canal to help power the machines. And then what happened was not only did it power the machines, but it also gave the industries a place to dump a lot of toxic waste. And if you notice, there's two types of silos. There's cement silos, and then there's terracotta silos, which is very unusual to see the terracotta silos. The terracotta ones were the original ones, and in the 50s they expanded it, and then finally they took it down and they moved to the port. But I've been in there because I go urban exploring, and I go into these abandoned places, and it reeks. Because what happened was they left all the malt that was in there. It wasn't worth it for them to move that, so they just left everything there.
And a lot of Italians would work here?
Not so. That side is St. Henry. The Italians worked on this, actually, because this is the side, the south side of the canal is where a lot of the Italians and the Irish and French Canadian who came from the countryside settled. The other side, St. Henry, there were Italians, and I'll show you that later, but there was a much greater group of French people through here, and then would come down here. So this was actually what they call a head race, so that they had industries on both sides. And if you see, there's still some ghost signs left on some of these buildings, but it was very toxic. This whole corridor was very, very toxic. Chemical plants, coke plants, steel mills, and all the industries that supported that. Across there is the high school that not that one, oh, we passed it. This is all falling down. This is the Turcotte interchange. This is all falling down. Sign whatsoever that tells you. And I'll go up to the coke plant, and then I'll come back in and I'll show you. This is actually my thesis. This is how I go into my thesis. I do the whole cultural geography, and I stop along the way, and I do all the oral history of each place and what it means. Like I do a whole oral history on this, which used to be the main street.
And why is this area important to you?
Because I grew up here. It's my neighborhood. It's my neighborhood, and it's also because it's sort of it was definitely an enclave of Italians that started here like around 1900. They came for the industries, and then boomed after the war. But it's never been really on the radar for a lot of people geographically nor historically for the Italians, because the power's always been in the northeast end districts. So you see, this is a steel mill. This is what I was telling you, like my grandfather worked. Now it's cleaned up. I mean, you don't have smoke coming out of here, and you don't have the Molino. Many Italians. Yeah, many of the Italians used to work here. So this frames the neighborhood.
And
these are the kind of jobs that these guys did, the laborers did.
It's hard to picture like a residential area here.
It is. I know, but that's what's kind of interesting. That, I mean, it framed the area, so in a way, these people were working. They had work because of these large industries. They were able to work, and even through the Depression, they were able to make some money, a little more so than people that worked in construction did in other neighborhoods. So that this sort of maintained them. And up ahead,
with the kids from the students.
we did. I've gone in there. I've gone exploring in there. Up ahead, you're going to see a crane. I'm going to just take you there, and then we'll do a U-turn.
Yeah.
This is the end of Ville Emard, and this is where LaSalle begins. And back here used to be LaSalle Coke. LaSalle Coke was a manufacturing plant. They used to manufacture coal for heating. And the only thing left of that plant is this crane. And this crane, there were lots of cranes that looked like this along the canal, because the boats used to come here with the raw carbon, and there'd be the guys that would be up there, and there was a clamshell that came from that part that extends forth. It would go down into the boat. It would pick up the coal. Then the men would go into the boat and clean it up. Some guys used to work up there. It used to be really, really cold up there because even though they sold coal for heating purposes, they never heated any of the places that the men worked. And this is a very windy area on the canal. So some of the guys used to go in there also and have to clean up. I've had stories of guys like falling off this crane 175 feet, and of course they don't get any relief at the time. And this was post-war, so you can imagine the guys that actually worked here pre-war, pre-World War II, how difficult the conditions were. So when you talk about these guys, they say, oh yeah, facevo parte di questa società, you know, for whether it was to get Società Casect or even the Dopo Lavoro or anything that helped them get relief. You understand why?